Namaskar, good evening to the viewers of Pandit Ravi Shankar Music Foundation. We welcome you once again celebrating the 100 years of Pandit Ravi Shankar ji. Friends, before we start this session, we would like to remind you the birthday of some eminent personalities who were born today. One of them was legendary actress and poet Meena Kumari ji, and the second Carnatic singer Tiger Vardhacharya, who got the Sangeet Kalanidhi Award by Madras Music Academy in the year 1932. So this is the birthday of the persons who were born today. Now, I would like to introduce one of the eminent personalities who will be a guest of today. Let me share something about the background of that personality. That he is born in a musical family with son of an eminent tabla player, late Professor Vishwanath Bose, and mother Bharati Bose. And he is none other than Acharya Jayanta Bose, a complete musical package, because he is a poet, he is a composer, he is a singer, he is a harmonium soloist and a tabla player, and of course a music director in Bengali film industry. So I took the privilege from Pandit Ravi Shankar Music Foundation to welcome Acharya Jayanta Bose. Dada, namaskar.
Namaskar.
How are you, Dada?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing fine. How about others? How about you?
Fine. So fine. Dada,
good to see you.
Now to talk to you, there is another person, senior disciple of Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, Gaurav Mazumdar Dada. I welcome Gaurav Mazumdar Dada to the show. Dada, namaskar.
Namaskar, Ashirwad.
But to start the session, Dada, as you know, Jayanto Dada, we had in every episode, we asked some questions in the beginning of the sessions to the viewers of who are looking this show, Pandit Ravi Shankar Music Foundation. So the first question of today is that, which year Pandit ji served as a music director in All India Radio, New Delhi? Which year Pandit Ravi Shankar served as a music director of All India Radio, New Delhi? This is the first question. And let me also announce that yesterday's question answer was not given the right answer by either of the viewers. So we cannot disburse the prize of yesterday. And we will let you know the answers of yesterday, the correct answers of yesterday in the due course of this session. Over to you, Gaurav da, talk to Jayanto da.
Thank you, Nabarun. Dada, amar pranam apnake. What a
Namaskar, Ashirwad, Pran Bhara Shubha Kamona. A very heartfelt greetings for all of you, and the warmth of my heart, from the very bottom of my heart, in fact, for you all to have given me this privilege to talk on such a legend. And it is a great privilege. It is a great privilege. But jokingly, I'd like to say, I don't appreciate Gaurav's choice to have picked me to say something on such a big legend.
It is not so, Dada. It is not so. You yourself.
Anyway, you carry on. Gaurav, carry on.
It has been a long time wish and dream of mine to sit with you and speak out Pandit Ravi Shankar ji. I wanted to, considering you yourself, Guru, you do so many things and at such great level, which everybody appreciates and enjoys. Coming from you will definitely shed a different light on this creative genius called Pandit Ravi Shankar. Now, this session today, where would you like to start?
Well, that's another big question, in fact. I mean, As you know, we just had a little, a very small session before we started. We actually went on live. That it is such a vast topic. It is such a big subject to talk on for anyone. For anyone. So for me, I'm rather feeling confused. I don't know where to start from, and the question doesn't arise out of coming to an end while talking issues around a legend like him anyway. But we can just carry on. We will see where
Let's
it leads
start
to.
because your family and Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, they knew each other. Your father, your mother, you have been connected to the Gharana, the Maihar Gharana, and Pandit Ravi Shankar ji. So let's begin with Pandit Ravi Shankar ji as a person, and let's see where we go from there. And then we take one thing at a time and speak about.
Yeah, right. Uh, Well, we already have been in a kind of family relation with him. We are in, and by virtue of my father's presence in this music industry. My father was very close to him, very dear to him. He was junior to him, and he had a very good warmth and very living affection from him that we always had stories about. So basically, since I've been very young, I had been hearing stories about him from my father. And I mean, I just started getting to know about him through my father's stories that he used to tell. Let me tell you one very interesting thing. What struck me was how decisive he was in his planning. I still remember I was very young then. My father told me a story. Actually, that was my father's experience. It happened much earlier anyway, when maybe my father wasn't even married and he was very young and he just started doing it in the music sphere. My father said he saw Panditji just walking around in his balcony of that place when he stayed there. And he was beating his right hand on his left hand, saying one thing that Vishwanath, I'm going to do something. This is not where I'm going to stop. This is not where I'm going to feel that I'm contented enough. I'm going to go so far, a long way ahead. And I know what to do. I know how to get there. And he just made it. What he meant, he just made it. And so I kind of made a rethought about what I heard from my father, because then I was very young. I couldn't find any bigger significance in that. I just heard it as a sentence. Like my father said, this is how he used to talk, this is how he used to think. But later on, it occurred to me, but a better way. I thought how decisive he was. He exactly knew and where he has got to go and what he is heading off towards and where he has got to go and what should be the lineup, what should be the planning, how to step further. And it was so consequent, it was so consistent planning wise. And finally got to the top, in fact. And we can just clearly say he was at the top anyway. Anybody you consider, I mean, no matter how good musician he is, how great one's work was, but he's at the top. It goes without saying. We can all say that. So that is something very unusual that I found in his character. He was so decisive. He knew exactly. It's not like normally when people think about making one's future, you see things go like you see. I don't know. I'm just trying my hands out. I don't know what to do. I'm just doing my best. I'm trying these things. But he knew it was like making a firm target, and that was not about something very nearby that you are earning in thousands and you will earn in lakhs. It's not like that. It's not as easy as that. It is about something totally different. It's a different plane that he made a target of. And he got to the top. And in course of time, he took his own time. He took his own planning. So don't you think it's
Yeah,
something very
I think what I hear from you is that very early he had a roadmap. He had a clear vision.
exactly. He had a roadmap and he designed that by himself, and he exactly knew what should be the route, how to move on, how to carry forward, how to get rid of what should be the shortest route, and also the fair route, not anything unfair, not by any unfair strategy. He worked hard, he made his plannings, and he just followed everything up, and he got to the top. So this is something that teaches all of us. So before you make your target, you must plan properly in your life. You must have a right direction. You must have a right path to follow up. So that is one thing.
think uh,
Anyway,
I think what makes me think, and also speaking to
mhm,
different people over this period of last couple of months,
mhm,
tells me that very early on, he definitely had a vision, but also he had a plan, as you're saying, a roadmap of
mhm.
how to meet that vision, how to take it forward, and how to execute his plans. But what
Yeah,
amazes me, usually when you plan your life, you are in the focus. You're the important part in it and everything. But in this, his focus was Indian music. He had a larger
that's what
picture.
I'm saying. This is not just about making one's career, earning more money, or getting to a level where you will be known in a much better way. It's not as simple as that. I never thought. I never thought it was something else. It was something more to that for one to consider. I think. I mean, what he has imparted knowledge through his works, through his experiments, through his movements around music, through every single thing that he made an effort around. So he was after imparting knowledge to the rest of the musical sphere from his end. So how do you make it? It's not enough for one to just make a living by making music profession. It's not just about that. We see, I mean, I have to switch on to a different aspect, just close to this. Mm, Basically, we are about two generations ahead, I think, from him. There was another generation from his era ahead of him, and then we came into the arena. So now almost all the artists are going abroad, doing so much of work in terms of, you know, towards letting East meet West, letting West meet East, and kind of fusion, doing so many experiments on music, doing so many different kinds of things in the global music atmosphere. But it wasn't as easy as it's happening now. It has never been, at least before his time. And he was the one who actually lighted the fire. He is the only person who made this bridge between East and West. And I remember I have heard him say this thing, Jayanta, if you come out of your own sphere, if you go into a bigger field, you need to start from zero back again. So if you come abroad, if you start working in here, don't try to think what you were in your country, how you used to do in your country, how you were treated in your country. It's a different country, it's a different language, it's a different vision, it's a different perspective. Everything is different. So you need to, realistically, you need to go down to zero back again and then start back again, see how it keeps resulting in. And it is so true, Gaurav, it is so true. I have, in my experience, I was very frequently abroad in a span like from 1991 till 2003. It was about 10, 12 years span. I was very frequently abroad, and I used to work mostly in the sphere of fusion jazz music. I worked as an Indian vocalist, as an Indian lead vocalist. I collaborated with a local musician from London, and then we made a band and we started traveling around. We did a lot of hard work anyway, and finally we got through it, got to quite a bit of good level, in fact. Anyway, we used to be considered as one of the first 40 bands in Europe, but that's a different issue. But when I started working in there, in every single state, I felt, I felt very living what Panditji said once. So it was like a mantra, you see, it was like a mantra. And I did basking in Leicester Square. Everyone knows, you must have heard about that place in London. Leicester Square is kind of a center, and it becomes very living in the evening. The people, after finishing over their work, everyone, uh, I mean, most of the people go there to take fun of life. In fact, somebody is doing this, somebody is playing, somebody is singing, somebody, and a lot of baskers over there as well. So I just wanted to have the taste of how it feels to be just a simple basker, because no one knows who I am, whom I have happened to be, which family I'm belonging to, which tradition I'm belonging to. Nothing else, nothing behind. You just sit like a musician and you do your own thing. People, if they love your performance, if they love what you are doing, if they like it, they will just stand there for a while. They will appreciate in terms of giving maybe a couple of pounds. I think, and that's the actual recognition. That's where you start. So I have tested that, and it worked magically. It worked magically. That's why I was telling you in the beginning of this session, in fact, I haven't been actually very close associate with Panditji for a long stretch of time. By virtue of my father and also my big brother, who used to play with him for a long stretch, uh, the entire family got very close to him, and he was very affectionate on us. Uh, the first time I met him, that was a little before the year I got married, in fact. That was 1982. And my father deceased in 1980. And we dreamed of having Panditji to do something in memory of my father. My father was a junior fellow artist to him. So we were in a kind of apprehension what would happen. So we thought, okay, why not just make a simple approach to him if he could think of doing something for us. So he used to take his accommodation in Lalaji's house whenever in Calcutta. So me, my mother, and the whole of our family actually had been to that place some time before that. And then we made that simple approach to him. Jatama said, is it possible to make some time for us? If you say yes, if we have one yes from you, then we'll just move on. We want to do something. If it is possible for you to play in memory of my father. And he was so generous, he was so kind. I'll tell you a couple of more stories about how kind he was to his later generations, to his junior artists, to people like us who are I'd like to consider myself like something totally insignificant to him. Anyway, but not just in terms of music, I'm telling you. But anyway, he never needed do things what he has already done for us. He never needed. It was his kindness, it was his generosity, it was his human quality. So, and he said, yes, no problem. I can do it for you. Vishwanath was very dear to me. And it's a pity, it's a great pity that he left all of us in such an early age. My father was only 53 when he died. So it is real pity. And I also heard it from my father. Actually, my father had an offer from Panditji to play along with him and to go to China, to travel to China. And you know how it was, I'm talking about that time, how it was difficult for people to think about, going abroad. It is not like, so you decide and you take the ticket, you take the visa and you just move and you fly out and you do your things and come back. It's not like that. Earlier, it used to be a lot of responsibilities, family responsibilities on music, on people, family responsibilities and other responsibilities. So it could never be an instant decision for one to make that, okay, I'll go. But Panditji offered my father to come along. But it was very disappointing. It must be for my father to say that he was unable because of so many things behind because of so many family responsibilities and other things as well. But then somebody else came in. Anyway, that's a different story. So in that way, we could understand how affectionate he was on my father. So it worked the same way, even after so many years, when we made that approach to him that if he could do something. And he was so easy and he came completely unconditionally, completely unconditional. He didn't charge, he didn't ask for anything. He didn't, I mean, it was a God kind of, act towards us that he did. And he came over. That's when I first met him. And then I came to know about his other qualities, his human qualities. I mean, I don't know how many people have noticed these things. There is one thing that's very important in artists. I hope you'll agree with me. That's humor. It's a humor. We often see musicians cut jokes on many different things and they exchange their view through jokes. It is a very common thing, but he had such a fine sense of humor. It just moved me like mad. And what is your experience? You tell me. How have you seen
always,
him do that?
everything he did, there was always a touch of humor. Like I was reading just the other day, which I have heard before also. There was a young girl. Guruji was talking to her before the concert, and he was, punning. He was twisting everything she was saying, joking. And then the girl looked at Guruji and said, "My God, you pun quite a lot." And Guruji immediately answered, immediately. He says, "That's why I am called a Pandit." I mean, there's another story since you asked me. The show is about you today, but since you asked me, I'll give you.
And of course, let it be an exchange of views just between all of us.
Guruji used to love going to pharmacies. He used to love going to the doctors. He would love going, and he would say, "No, I don't have a headache, but let's buy some Anacin and keep it at home. I don't have a throat ache or anything, but some strepsils I'll just keep just in case, like that. So let's go." So, and Guruji's wife, our dear Chinnamma, who's watching today and blessing us from London, she said, no, I don't believe in medicines.
By the way, my pranam, my regards to Chinnamma. And also my heartfelt greetings for Anushka Band. I don't know if she's around with us somewhere. Anyway.
So Chinnamma said, so there was something, she had a headache or something. Guruji said, no, I have something in my purse. I can give you a pill, So Chinnamma immediately said, no, I don't. My willpower is strong, and I believe in willpower. And Guruji, nicely, he just changed the whole thing. He looked at her. He says, oh, good, that's good. You believe in willpower. But somehow with me, I believe in pill power. Always. There was always a twist in the tale.
I said, look at the fineness of the humor. Look at the fineness of the humor. How intelligently he picks things up and just made quick retort to whatever he had.
There is one more which I want to share because it's
of course. Please carry on.
Guruji had a chain. He was wearing a chain. And Chinnamma had bought a beautiful pendant, very beautiful pendant. And one day we were coming back from somewhere, I don't remember. And somehow that pendant had become little loose. Little loose, and it was coming out. And Guruji was trying to put it. Chinnamma tried. So Guruji looked at Chinnamma. He says, you know what? Maybe this pendant wants to be independent. So I think we should take it as wants to be
Oh, wow.
dependent, wants to be independent.
It's super fine, super fine, super fine. And I tell you about one a very good joke that he got, and maybe it will be little more dialectical than linguistic, in fact,
Yeah,
because he did it in Bengali. So
sure.
I'm saying this, and I might need to break into my own language
Yeah, yeah.
just to be able to give it more sense. Anyway, so once he came down to Calcutta and he was doing a concert. Um, in a place around the known place Dakshineshwar.
Dakshineshwar.
Dakshineshwar. I think it was Uttarpara Sangeet Sammelan or something like that. I can't exactly remember where it was.
Maybe Srirampur or Uttarpara.
Anyway, so usually, as usual, all the associates and the people who normally get around when he comes down. So they were all over there. We were there. So just we were taking the pleasure of being with him for some time anyway. So in the green room, he said, "Actually, do you know the nickname of this place? That's the nickname of this place, I guess." And he was trying to mean that Dakshineshwar, because Dakshineshwar has got a nickname, kind of a nickname. It's called Ereda. And Ereda is basically it derived from actually Arya Daho. Arya Daho is the actual name. So basically it got distorted colloquially. So people started making it Eneda instead of Arya Daho. It's better to call it Eneda, it's something like that. And then Panditji instantly said, Bhagish, kono Godiya Daho bole kono jayega nahi. So thank God there isn't any place which is called Godiya Daho. It came so instantly. And Gaurav, actually, my association with him, as I have already told you, I haven't had that much of association with him physically for a long stretch. My association actually happened more in terms of thinking about his works, scanning his creations. It happened more in terms of that. That's why, whatever, whenever I have watched him uh, play music, whenever I've watched him do music, whenever I've found him think about music, that always gave me great lessons. I've learned so much. And officially, I cannot claim to have been a student of his musical legacy or his musical trail, but I have always been a student of his path. I have learned so much, and I still keep learning. Whenever I'm listening to his music, listening to his composition, and I've been a great fan of his composition too. Anyway, now what would you like to know? I mean, I have
Chinnamma from London. She sends her love to you.
my pranam, my regards again to her. Chinnamma, please accept my pranam. And a very, 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 very heartfelt warmth for you at your feet at Panditji's memory. And I'm so thankful that Gaurav taken me along
It's a pleasure.
throughout this journey. It's a great occasion.
It's a pleasure. The next thing which I would like to ask you, I will ask you a term, and then I want you to elaborate on that, because it would be nice to know your view on that, considering you're such a great musician, composer. The Ravi Shankar Baj, if I say to you the Ravi Shankar Baj, what does that mean to you? What does it say? How do you uncode that term?
Yeah, it's like well, to me it's like unfolding a great mystery. In fact, it has a lot to say. It has a lot to defeat. Well, let me start with this. Panditji introduced a completely different way of not only playing sitar, but also aspects like dealing with ragas, building up ragas, designing a performance, and so much more of that. So let me tell you first, in ragas, well, whatever I'm saying, I mean, don't please consider it as any comment or any assessment. I'm a very little existence to make an assessment of such a great virtuoso. I'm very little. So whatever I'm saying, it is kind of a vision from my perspective. It's
Sure.
just my view.
Sure.
So I think raga is a weird thing to me, actually. And I'm telling you why do I look at it this way. See, in Indian music, there's a huge discipline there. First, you need to pick specific number of notes for a raga. You can only elaborate on that. And then it comes to considering the discipline. This is how the ascending should be. This is how the descending should be. Third, there is a note that you need to emphasize on, which is called badi. And another note next to that is samvadi. So you need to maintain that. There is another aspect of ang, which we say this is Purvang Rag, this is Uttarang Rag. So whether you start from the top part of the raga and then come down and go back to the top again, or you begin from the bottom part and then go up to the top and then come back again. So that order is there as well. So there are so many orders to follow up. There's so many disciplines to just keep on with. But still, it is said, you can do anything you like. You can go free. See how weird it is. So that means it is a freedom with endless disciplines. It is a freedom with endless disciplines. You have to keep in mind every single discipline to be able to do a justice to a raga. But you are still feeling free and you are doing improvisations, you are doing elaborations. It is a weird thing with classical music. And I think the whole of the world gets lost in here. This is something. And there is a discipline of cycle as well. You have to keep hitting on the first beat of the cycle. So whatever you do. So with such a discipline order, you need to move and you have to make it in such a way so that people like it, so that people love, so that people get into a spell of that raga. So it is hell of a lot of difficult task. Hell of a lot of difficult task. That's what I consider. That's how I consider. But Panditji is a person, at least he showed a kind of Medici process. Like you see, the I have seen. Raga, there is a portion, if you just split a raga into a portions, like the first zone or second zone, am I understandable, Gaurav?
Yeah.
Am I making things clear?
I'm absolutely following what you're saying.
Like for an instance, I'm taking all the 7 notes for a raga. So from sa to the bottom pa, this is the zone. So you start elaborating with that part. And then you move on to the next note, re, ga. So it depends upon how the badi will work, how samavadi will work, how the angik will work, how the nash of the raga will work. It depends upon the other things. I'm not talking about that because I have already. But I'm now coming how to move on from one note to the other, and from then to the other note, and from there to the other note, like this. How to make it so consistent. And when Panditji, by the time he reaches Apasa, say like maybe it has been about an hour or so, or maybe more than that, but you never realized he has come up to the upper sa. It is so gradual. It is so unassuming. The process of movement. This is a great thing to learn from his performance. And his baj actually has had a lot to do with this processing. So I say the build-up of a raga in Panditji's baj is a completely different thing to consider. It's a complete different aspect. And this is something that he introduced. That's how I consider. We have had good elaborations of raga. There are several maesters out there. There are several singers, personalities, and all that. They have done things their own way. And everybody is good their own way. Everybody is brilliant, and everybody has been excellent their own ways. But what makes Panditji's very unique is the way he used to do this build up of raga. Don't you agree with me?
Yes,
The
yes.
build up of raga, the way he will move, and the way it will seem to you as if it's very easy to do like that. It's very easy. I mean, whenever he played any raga, be it, I have heard him play ragas like Mudriki Kannada, Kafi Kannada, Bhagesri Kannada. They are very, neck to neck, very close to each other. And it's almost like, I mean, for me, it is almost like an impossible job to just keep two other ragas away from what you are playing. If you are playing Mudriki Kannada, then just to keep going with Kafi Kannada away from there is a difficult task. You will never know when you will approach into Kafi Kannada playing Mudriki Kannada, and you will never know when you will approach into Mudriki Kannada playing Kafi Kannada. But he could make out that difference at ease, so unassuming, and the design of the phrases, the school of introducing the notes one by one, one by one, one by one. It's a fantastic build-up. It's a fantastic build-up, I must say. And that is what I have learned so much. And whenever I played ragas on the harmonium, I have had this compliments from great artists. It's kind of blessings that always came to me. Uh, People said, okay, Janto or Jantuda has been very good at treating ragas. So basically, I followed the school of Panditji, I'm telling you. That's when I consider I'm a student of Panditji school. So it is so intelligent, so intelligent. That is one thing. And secondly, so basically, I'm talking about the process of Medici thing that he introduced in doing elaborations of raga and doing improvisations from raga. So when it comes to you, it always leaves things for you to learn and also to enjoy at the same time. You keep learning and you keep enjoying as well, both the things. And Tani Abartan, Tani Abartan. That is something I believe he introduced. And it's very interesting. Tabla players are always looking forward to when there's a chance for them to just play and to excel, to excel. So it is such a good scope for them to come forward with whatever excellence they have had in their playing, and without disturbing the performance. It's design. It's a complete different designing of a performance that he introduced. You see, and there's so much more. And as we just keep discussing on that, things will be coming out, one after the other. This is the second thing. And the third thing, all I'm talking about is just around Panditji's Baj. It's Pandit Ravi Shankar's Baj. It's very special. And you have to have finer views to be able to make out that. Otherwise, you won't understand. You have to have that finer views. Thirdly, the rhythmic cycle. The rhythmic cycle. He used to deal so nicely with cycles. It never ever stood out like he's playing something very different, very difficult, something very tricky. Did you ever feel that? I never felt that. Be it 5.5, be it 9 matras, be it 11 matras, be it 15 matras, everything seemed same as Tintal. It was so much of ease in his playing. So that's to do with understanding the cycle, isn't it? It is more about understanding the cycle. When you actually get involved in the cycle, then it becomes very easy. And he showed us the way how to do that. You take the pleasure of the cycle. Don't Don't try to prove how difficult it is. Don't try to prove how tricky it is. You take it as a rhythm. It is a cycle, but it is no different from 4/4. It is no different from 3/4, what we are used to since we have been born. We are born with 3/4 and 4/4, you see. I mean, we have to make efforts to go out of that. But when other things come in the same mode, then that is something unique. And that's what he made possible. I think so.
How
So
beautiful.
tell,
How beautiful. Apni, the thing you just said, 3/4 and 4/4, it
mm,
reminds me of another thing. In the center here, the Pandit Ravi Shankar Center, what Guruji built,
mhm,
there was a girl who was working for Guruji, and she became a new mother.
mhm,
And so she must have come to see Guruji with the baby when the baby was small, but also when Guruji was back the year after. One
mhm,
year later, the baby had already started toddling, you know,
mhm,
and started walking little bit, you know, and with that,
mhm.
and I still remember Guruji saw, and the first thing says, "Oh my God, the baby is walking like how I do in my old age now," you know, that. বলছে, "এমা, ওর হাঁটাটা তো আমার মতন হয়ে গেছে," you know.
Again, back to that fine humor sense. Yeah.
But what I come to two things. What you just said, I was thinking about it.
Mhm,
One is I would like you to elaborate when we speak of his Baj, the
mhm,
Tal, Le, Chand.
mhm,
It is one aspect of the Tal. But
mhm,
also in his case, I felt that his Raga itself had a rhythm and had a pace.
mhm,
Yaman didn't have the pace of Bhairavi. The Bhairavi didn't
mhm,
have the pace of Bhupali. And
mhm,
also how he chose the tal for each rag was different. So he didn't
mhm.
try to play Pancham Savari in Bhupali, or he chose the tal so carefully that when you hear, you think, oh yeah, emni to hawa uchit. This is how it should be.
Yeah, yeah.
And then each
Exactly. Yeah.
rag had a different mold. It was not as if the mold of Yaman he would take and fit it in Bhupali, then he would fit it in Bhairavi, he would fit it in Yaman. Every rag was a different person.
Mhm.
So these two aspects I want you to elaborate, Dada.
Well, raga, every single raga has its own mood, its own sphere. See, and the length of raga, the length, the term I'm using because you cannot keep elaborating Hanshatani for hours. It's not possible. But you can do that in case of Darbari Kannada
Correct.
because it's a long stretch raga. So ragas have different different length of stretch. In
Fan.
fact, span. Every single raga has its own span. So first you need to understand that. And he all the way through his performance, he always taught us what should be the proper length of that raga that he is dealing with. He taught us unknowingly. Well, I could manage to learn so much about that aspect from his playing. That how this rag should be played, not how the rag should be played, how the rag should be treated. As you just said, he could, he, you said, um, I mean, I feel very bad to make a mention of this when you was finishing. He made a mention of a word thing. He said to you that he had been dealing with ragas, he had been doing ragas, but then that was the time when he was finishing off with his life, and he could see the ragas. But I think he could see the ragas from much before. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to treat ragas such easy ways. Easy ways. So ragas were already very friendly to him. He could make a relation with them. So everything came to him with a default living order. The ragas, I think ragas used to tell them how should they be treated. The talas used to tell them how should they be treated. That is why whatever he played, whatever he did, everything was so effortless. I should rather say. The effortless. I have never seen him work with effort using, and I will tell you about that thing when I have seen him compose. So now I'm talking about his playing. So he used to have a very, very smart understanding about the length of the raga, how the length of that raga should be, and how it should be portrayed. And accordingly, tala is very important. If it is a small span raga, you cannot choose shik or tal, a big cycle like that for that raga. So what you said was your question is very significant, in fact. And there is an answer in the question itself, in fact. So it is very, very, very intelligent to be able to choose the tala according to the mood of raga. And then only everything blooms up like a flower. The whole thing comes in a package. When you choose the right raga, and not only the raga, you choose the right tala to go along that raga. Then the whole thing unites and makes something complete. And he used to do that very intelligently. That has been the learning. I have seen him, I just told you, I have seen him play Modriki Kannada once, and that was a great learning. I specifically remember that moment. I recollect those moments, in fact, and I go back to the spell of that raga and his performance that he cast on. It was such a good build-up, and he actually did a long alap on Modriki Kannada. And another thing to say, Gaurav, I don't know whatever you felt the same way. He didn't change the raga. He did a long straight, a very detailed alap on Modriki Kannada, which is Kafi That, and it is very close to Kafi Kannada, in fact. But he was treating from lower Madhyam to Sa in a fantastic way. Do you see my point? It's not Kafi Kannada, it's Modriki Kannada. But the movements are very close to each other. And he kept Kafi Kannada all the way through away from there.
Wow,
But
wow.
all the phrases very close to Kafi Kannada. And that was a great learning. And it occurred to me, I actually went mad on that performance. So that was the best performance I have ever had from him.
This performance, if you tell us, I think would be, this was in Calcutta for the Hafiz Ali
In
Khan
Calcutta,
festival.
maybe,
Hafiz Ali Khan.
maybe, yeah, Hafiz Ali Khan. Yeah, exactly. You are right. You are right.
And he played it on 31st December.
And
Last
I haven't
night.
been, yeah, I have never been very good at remembering things and when what happened actually. So I just make a mention.
I've heard about this performance, legendary performance from Guruji.
And he did a long stretch alap, which happened to be so complete in itself, nothing. And we all thought he didn't change the lala. Then he started playing back again. And what is so striking for the listeners, at least for me, that he didn't change the lala, but everything else changed. The mode of playing, the mode of improvisations, the mode of phrases, the way he was designing his phrases, along different zones of that raga. Everything changed and he was doing good tihais. I'm not even talking about the cycles that he made his tihais on. He made intelligent tihais. But the movement, the graduation of the movement, the graduation of phrases, the movement, everything changed and everything totally seemed different. But just the raga. He didn't change the raga. So normally what we do, if we have done a long alap on some raga, we always feel like changing the raga because we have done so much of improvisation on that already. That's what we feel. But you see what he did. And I think he must have honored the audience so much. That's why he thought, okay, it is good to just stick to this raga. So why not do more to it? Why not add up more to it? That's this is what he must have thought anyway. But it was something totally a different world, a different world. It opened up a different world for me. And then I learned that, you see, I mean, it is actually the art of the art of thinking. This is not the expertise of playing. It doesn't come through the expertise of playing. That is Pandit Ravi Shankar's Baj. That is Ravi Shankar's Baj. So you have to do a unique thinking about what you're going to reproduce. It's not about your expertise. It's not about how speedy you make your dance, how speedy as you make all through your performance. It's not about that. It's not about uh, um, how much of intense mood you play around your phrases. It's not about it. It's about how intelligently you can think about the raga, how intelligently you can think about the cycle. And to make it more clear, I tell you one thing. It was perhaps Shanti Dhani. I sang for Shanti Dhani. I think I sang a little bit for Shanti Dhani, but it was more about just being with him all through the stretch of that period. He was down Calcutta, he was in here, he was composing, he was thinking. So I spent a lot of time then. It was a very good spell for me. And then I saw him compose actually from beginning up to the end. There's a violinist called Dilip Rai, Dilip Da. Dilip Da is very known, very senior to us, and is a very senior arranger, music arranger, and he played very violin as well himself. So Dilip Da was there, myself was there, and Panditji was composing, and Dilip Da was writing down the notations. Gaurav, you wouldn't believe. I know, I'm pretty certain about it that Jatama Sahib, Panditji, didn't even think about what he was going to compose 5 minutes before when he started. I'm pretty sure about it because he was so, jolly, cracking jokes on different things, and he was pulling somebody's legs and doing something, this, that, and he was so casual about it. But the moment he says, okay, let's go for the walk, and then he gets into the spell instantly, and he starts composing. And he was giving us lines, Gaurav, not even in twice. He wasn't doing the corrections. He was just telling us this line, okay, write down this, you play this, okay, you play this, you play this. He didn't consider the chords. He didn't consider how it's going to be if both the lines come together. Is it going to be harmonic? Is it going to work together? Well, he didn't think anything. I'm pretty sure about that. But it was, things were coming like fountain water, fountain water. He kept dealing us lines. Dilip was writing. I was writing a little bit of it as well. And every single phrase, every single bar, every single line, every single note just sat into proper chordal progression. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Suppose he has given a line that covered 12 bars, suppose. And parallelly is giving the second line. Something has to be played, something has to carry on with. Just parallel to that, some line is getting played on sitar, some line is getting played on santoor, something on violin anyway, and he's giving parallelly the lines. He's telling us about the lines. And we can see that he's thinking instantly and telling us, like, Dhani sa dhani pa gama pa gama re sa pa. Sa pa pa sa 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 pa 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 sa sa pa sa pa pa sa 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 pa pa sa sa da ba da ba sa re sa da ba re sa pa da ba ga ba sa da da ba sa re sa. Like this. And he was thinking and he's telling us. But I was thinking, how would he manage to just make everything sit in the chord progression? But finally, when we wrote down, everything is sitting exactly appropriate with the chord progression. How is it possible? There is a discipline, there's a default discipline in his brain. That is to do with Ravi Shankar's Baj. That is what is Ravi Shankar's Baj. So it is being termed as Baj, but it's not actually Baj.
Now,
when
now my question to you is, how do you learn and copy that?
Well, a question would have been better if you asked, how do I not copy that? How do I avoid doing that?
No, I want to copy that. I want to do that. How do I do it?
Well,
Now you know why I requested you to come on the show.
uh, you see, I'm telling you something interesting. Well, the way I am very much used to look at music and look at things when I work. See, dialect is always more spontaneous than language.
Yes. Yeah.
Bengali. If you go up to Scotland, I as I told you, I've been frequent to almost all parts of the globe for long 10, 12 years. So I travel so many different parts of the globe. And I used to, because of I was involving in a fusion jazz band. So my audience was mostly not Indian. It was a lot more to do with Western audience anyway. So for the initial years, actually, I traveled a lot to Scotland. In Scotland, I I used to find it difficult to cope with understanding their language because most of the people actually spoke dialects rather than English. It's not formal English. That was my initial years. I was just, when you go abroad, I'm talking about much before anyway. Now everything has been globalized. Language has been globalized as well. There's a common point in language as well.
Correct.
So it took time. Over a period of time, everything is now kind of made easy thing to everyone, to all parts of the globe. But I'm talking about much earlier than I started. So I used to find it very difficult to cope with the way they make sentences, the way they make their expressions. Because basically it's more an expression rather than language. It works the same way in Bengali. You see, আমি কেমন আছি, তুমি জিজ্ঞেস করছো আমি কেমন আছি, আমি ভালোই আছি, তারপরে তোমার খবর টবর কি? If you translate it in dialect, then আমার খবর তো ঠিকই আছে, তুই কি তা করতেছ, তুই আমার জানাও কেন যায় কি করতে জিনিস এখন কি করতে আসো আর কাম করে বহান see how difficult it sounds out to be.
Yeah.
Because it has turned dialect. It's not language anymore, it's the dialect. And dialect, and it is very spontaneous. Once you are into this, it's a different world. It is a different world. You can touch a human being in a much better way through dialect, not
Yes.
through language.
Yes.
You can have more warmth of your touches.
Yes.
And it is reciprocal. So I think music can also have dialects. As long as it is language, it is going up to a level. But the moment it turns a dialect, it takes a different direction. It takes a different dimension. And Panditji's playing was more a musical dialect than a musical language. And that is why, and it was such a common dialect, like you, as I said, it is also do a lot more with sense of humor, I see. I mean, humor, the expression of humor is very common. When we cry, when an Englishman cries, there is no language because that is an expression. That is a dialect, kind of a dialect. Don't you agree? When we laugh, the laughter is a dialect. So you cannot laugh in English, you cannot laugh in Greek, you cannot laugh in Pali, you cannot laugh in Bengali. You can just laugh. You can just laugh.
Yes.
That works like a dialect, and it touches you instantly when you laugh. So when you are expressing, if you consider mime drama, see, in this context, I'd like to get it connected with mime. You see, when you are doing a mime, you don't need a language. You can do a simple mime for English people. You can do a simple mime for Italian people. You can do mime for any person from any part of the globe. You need any language. For things, whatever you do, not only music, if it comes to writing, if it comes to acting, if it comes to playing music, if it comes to composing, if things start working inside you like a dialect, then that will create a different spell, that will cast a different spell on people. And that is why Pandit is acceptable all over the globe. It never seemed natural to me not to know about Pandit Ravi Shankar, because Pandit Ravi Shankar is not just a name. Pandit Ravi Shankar incarnates music. Pandit Ravi Shankar incarnates music. You just go out and find the people who has never had anything to do with music, maybe will still know the name of Pandit Ravi Shankar. This is how the name has worked. Because Pandit Ravi Shankar Baj, as a name itself, as a Baj, as a culture, as a music trained, as a legacy, everything wise it has worked like a dialect. So anyone, you just find out. I'm talking about even the people who have never had anything to do with music will still know the name of Pandit Ravi Shankar. Somebody is trying to do something on any instrument, even if it's a different instrument, trying to play something on sorrow that's scribbling over keyboard, what, and the somebody will very naturally crack a joke on him and start pulling his leg saying, you know, are you trying to be like Pandit Ravi Shankar? See?
Correct.
This is something that he has done. He reached out to people like a dialect, like a musical dialect.
More expression rather than anything.
More expression. That is what I want to mean. His playing style is more not a kind of expression. It is an expression.
It is very expressive.
It is an expression.
Expression, yeah.
Expression of a human heart. Expression of the heart of music. It is an expression of the music movements. It is an expression of a mode of raga. Whatever you say, in whatever package it comes through, it is an expression. It is a bulk of expression. I went to watch his Ghanesham, Gaurav. Well, in my views, I thought, and I still think, the Ghanesham should have been judged no less than creation like Pathar Panchali. It should have been judged as same way as we have judged Pathar Panchali. It should have been an archive of Indian culture, the way he designed it. And what to say? I mean, so many things occur to me. See, in concert halls in India, at least I'm talking about the halls in Calcutta, you will find music pit only in Kalamandir, in Birla Sabhagar, and I don't know if there is a music pit in Ravindra Sadan. There is one, I think. No, music pit.
Music pit, yeah. Sure.
Have you seen many people to use that music pit with a purpose, what it is actually meant for? I haven't seen many people, but I have seen Jayanta Bose, I have seen Panditji to use that truly as a music pit. So what I'm trying to mean is, once while in London, I used to spend a lot of money, towards watching very special things like, Marriage of Figaro, composition of Mozart, Marriage of Figaro, and the French ballet La Boheme, and the British theater. And I worked with Jules Wright, who was a theater director, and she worked with Open University, and she did a drama where I worked as a cast musician. I used to act. It used to be just 5 shows a week, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. I used to appear as a cast musician. I used to do music, and there was another artist from India who was from Delhi, Maya Krishna Rao. She was there as well. So we worked together, and I can remember there was a guy who was just newly introduced to the field of theater then. Uh, the guy was called Daniel Craig, who is now the latest James Bond,
Yeah.
Daniel Craig. So we worked together in that drama that was directed by Jules Wright, and the whole thing was covered by Open University. It's in the university text as well. People had to read it. I don't know if it's still carrying on. So Ghanasham, Panditji wanted me to go there and what? I don't know how he valued my vision. Anyway, he made it very particular with me. Jayanto, তোমাকে আসতেই হবে. I want to see you there. You must see Ghanasham. So I watched two shows, two consecutive shows actually. And Gaurav, I have no adequate words to make any assessment of this production. I have no adequate words. And all the musicians like Vishnu, Tarun, Ramesh Mishra, and with all others, they were all in the music pit.
Yes.
They were playing live. And the whole drama was getting synced with that music, what was happening in front in the music pit. This is something uncanny. This is something uncanny. I'm talking about the culture of Indian music production, culture of Indian theater production. You don't normally see that. The musicians are sitting in the music pit and they are playing and everything getting synced very well. I saw that. When I saw that Marriage of Figaro, that was my first time getting exposed to British theater, Marriage of Figaro. And I went like, gosh, what's happening? What is this? The actors were singing right from the stage, and the music was being carried on in a music beat to talk about the balance, to talk about the sync, to talk about when to stop, when to stop, how. The whole thing, it was ghostly. When I first saw it, I felt just ghostly. How is it possible to do in such a perfection? And I found the same thing with Panditji's work, and he made it so effortlessly, and I felt so good about it. I can see the same thing sitting in my own country in an ancient city like Calcutta, where the music feed is being used for musicians only, and the whole thing is in sync. You can see the drama and music, both the things are in sync, and everything is working well. There's no flaw, nothing is happening, nothing is going off the way in between. Everything is just orderly up to the end. And I can still remember the scenes. There was one scene. It was a great canvas. Actually, it was anti-drug canvas,
Yes.
anti-drug, and it was very খুব প্রাসঙ্গিক ছিল. It was very contemporary. It was very much with the downwind of that time, in fact. And in one of the portions, there was a scene, maybe slightly after the beginning. A lady was taking bath in her washing room, and as it was in a remote village area, though the washing room wasn't, it was very basic. It was very basic. There were a number of holes for outsiders to look through, and Ghanasham, the character actually, who used to take drug, he was looking through one of the holes, and the lady was inside. She was taking bath. As soon as she found someone was watching her from outside through one of the holes, she kind of took a role. You see, I mean, she was wearing sari. It was unfolding as she was rolling and coming to the other part of the stage, and this was happening in sync with the music. Everything is in order. He was wearing the sari, he was unfolding it, he was rolling, and he came up to the end of that sari. And there was just last part of the sari was just stuck with Hada. And that's where she in that synth, you didn't believe. But don't forget, everything was happening in live. Live. There's no recording of music. And I don't know how much of rehearsal everybody had to go through. But to me, the whole creation and the dance choreography, I think dance choreography was also done by Panditji.
Yes.
Look at the dance choreography. It was right in the middle of two things. You see, drama and dance. The point he found actually, that was right in the center of these two things. Sometimes it felt like it was neither dance nor acting, or it can be both. See the point. If you look at it from the dancer points of view, and then you will find it's dance happening. If you look at it from a mime point of view, then you will see some mime kind of thing is happening. If you look at it from a different point of view, you will find the same way. See how he did the choreography. And then I told Janamasa, I have no adequate words. I have to work on it to be able to say something on that. I can't say. You just blew me out. All I can say is just it blew me out. I'm totally shocked. I can't say anything. That is how my expression came out after having seen that drama. So his music, his trend of music, his thinking of music, his designing, his composing, his thoughts around ragas, his creation. See, you were talking about ragas, no? The raga he created. Normally, people create ragas and they just stick to playing those ragas. It stays around the creator.
Yeah.
It doesn't spread much. It doesn't mean that what they have created is bad. It doesn't mean that what they have created is substandard. I'm not going into that much of a detail. It doesn't matter. Forget about what is good, what is bad. But what Panditji created, that got across very well. Many people who are not from his schooling, who are from a complete different schooling, they're all playing those ragas, practicing those ragas with much of ease. They don't find any difficulty. And they're feeling like playing it. They're feeling like singing it. Singing, playing, whatnot. I think there's a very good logic behind it. The way he has designed the ragas, it is neither a complex thing. It never came to me like a complex thing. It is very simple. It is very simple, but all the way through with some unique qualities. Say like Gangeshwari, say like Rangeshwari, say Charukesi, say Sanj Kalyan, say Tilak Sam. It never seemed difficult for one to play on or to sing on. Say Tilak Sam. Pani sare ga sare pa ma ga sare ma pa re ma pa ni pa da ma pa ga ma re pa ma ga sare ga sa re ma pa ni ta pa da pa ma ga sare ga sare ma pa sare pa ni sare ma pa da ma pa ga ma re pa ma ga re ga sa. It is actually complex. It is actually complex, very complex, because both the ragas that he chose to fuse, they are complex ones. The Shamkul is a complex rag. The basic ascending and descending, the basic movement of Shamkulan is quite complex. Re ma pa da ma pa ga ma re sa re sa re ma pa da ma pa ni sa re sa ne pa da ma pa ga ma re ma pa da pa ga ma re sa re sa. And Tila come on this. Ani sa re ga sa re pa ma ga sa re ma pa da ma pa sa pa da ma ga re ga sa ni ani sa re ga sa. These two complex things. But when these two tongues come together with the name of Tilaksam, it's even easier, you see. You just think about it. Two complex ragas have come together. He has fused these two complex ragas. But when it comes in a package of one singular raga with the name of Tilaksham, I think Tilaksham is for playing, singing wise and playing wise, Tilaksham is easier than Shamkulam. Tilaksham is easier than Tilakamod. Don't you feel so? I personally feel so. Because what has been added up to it is a logic of Panditji. That logic worked. He must have found a common point of these two ragas, and then only he got them fused. Otherwise, he wouldn't have. You need to be able to find out the rightest and a common point between two ragas, then only you fuse and they come together. Otherwise, no. Like two human beings, like two persons, you see, you have to find out each other's common points, then only you start making exchanges, be it views, be it whatever, be it feeling, be it expressions, whatever. If you're not common on certain points, you cannot make friends with each other. It's not possible. So ragas are just like that. They are pretty complex ragas in itself, separately as ragas, as Samkul and Tilaksham. But when they come together, it is such a fantastic logic that Panditji made work on them. It becomes even easier. I personally, I would say upon my word, on a personal note, I will find it much easier to play Tilaksham rather than Shamkulan and rather than Tilakam. And because if somewhere inside I like his logic. I like his logic. So whatever rag he has created, all the ragas had a very clear logic.
Yes.
All the way through. In every single order of that raga. Be it ascending, be it descending, be it Badi, somebody, or whatever. You see, you consider any raga, you just pick anyone, whatever he has created. It is everything is coming with so much of clear logic. You'll never have to think so much how to do this. You are after getting up to a level, you are in search of phrases, how to move on further, how it will never be like that. Once you start, something will, take you further. Something will take you further. You will keep on moving on your own. If you have got that logic, understanding of that logic, of course. I'm not talking about those who will just scribble about that. If you have learned Iman, if you have learned Shamkulan, if you have learned Bhupali, if you have learned Durga, then you will find a clear logic in Rangeshwari. You will find a clear logic in Gangeshwari. And it won't be very difficult for you to make your elaborations very consistent on that. Do you get my point?
Yes.
So his logic of this.
Clear, like
Very
a clear, pristine water, which is so clean and clear.
Exactly.
All you need to do is just touch it, feel the freshness, drink it, whatever. Dada, if you allow me, at this point, if I can ask two questions to my viewers.
Of course.
The first question is, what was the name of Acharya Pandit Jayanta Bose's father's name, the name of Jayanta Bose's father? What instrument did he play? And in fact, this is three questions. And at what age and in which year he left all of us at a very young, untimely age, he left all of us. So the name of Jayantada's father, what instrument he played, and in which year and at what age he passed away. Thank you. Dada, can I ask you, since we moved from the Pandit Ravi Shankar ji Baj and spoke about, the uniqueness of his mind and his thought process, which was so clear, and the logic and all that. And we moved on to his compositions, which is Rag, his creations, and many creations in terms of the Rags he composed close to between 30 and 40.
About 30. Yeah, I know about 30. I'm in know of about 30 number.
And later
maybe more.
Some more. Now, my question to you would be, as a composer, there are two names I'll take. And if you can elaborate on that, I know we will get to hear something unique from you. I'll take two names,
Mhm.
Pother Pachali and Anuradha.
Mhm.
If you can speak about these two work where Guruji worked as a music composer and he created the music.
I'd like to talk on Pathir Pachali.
Okay.
Pathir Pachali, because that was my one of my best picks, in fact. Anyway, but prior to talking about that, I'd like to make a mention about one interesting thing. I had a story from my father. Actually, I mean, we were not even born at the period I'm talking about. My father was very young. So my father told me this story about the way he used to work, about the way you're talking about. I already talk a lot about his thought process in everything, playing wise, composing wise, everything wise. Panditji perhaps did a musical then. I'm talking about much earlier. I'm telling you, it's a period before you were even born. My father was very young. My father said, "See how he used to think, uh, how how things occurred to him in the very first place. There was a scene, a farmer, a very age-old farmer, comes to king towards making some complaints about things happen around. He didn't get the crops done properly, and he hasn't got much of fun. So what to do with like that? And it was a musical actually. It was not a drama. It was a musical. So that was the sin. So basically, that age-old farmer was miming. He was gasping, and gasping. He was like, he went like, I have to bring it to my own language. Like, "Hola, মশাই জানেন কি বলবো এটাকে কি করে এরকম হয়েছে কি বলেন তো এটা কি ঠিক হয়েছে?" This is how it was meant to be. So if it was being a drama, then it must have been a script like this. But as it was a musical, he wasn't actually saying anything. But Panditji made this scene actually talk through his music. He used the khamak, the khamak instrument. Somebody was playing khamak just while seeing that farmer talk to king that way. You know,
Ah.
hats off, hats off. The reason I talked about this, so in differences, I can't remember exactly scene wise, because it's I mean Pathir Pachali. I saw Pathir Pachali. It has been about ages. I The last time I saw Pathir Pachali, I have seen Pathir Pachali quite a few times, just to be able to make out different aspects of the film separately. Watched once for just the screenplay. I thought, okay, this time I'm going to be watching the screenplay. So I must appreciate the screenplay. So I'm focused on that. And the second time when I watched, I thought, okay, now this time I'll be focusing on the camera from where he said. I love to do a lot of things. Maybe people also know. Music is my language, but my expressions have been so many. Everything comes through music, just so. So in that way, I watched Pathir Pachali quite a few times, but I remember I saw it once just for the music. And to me, in fact, I didn't hear any music. It was so focal. It was so what to say, so appropriate for the scenes that he made lines for. It more seemed to me like a script than a music, as if music was another character in the scene, and
Yes.
it was talking, it was chatting, it was talking, it was complementing the scene. It is in the script. That's how I felt. I couldn't hear the music separately. It didn't occur to me like any other song, like any other music lines. That's why I can't tell you. I specifically remember this line. I specifically remember that line. I specifically remember that, descending. It just came on that, and that beat. I can't remember like that because it worked like a language. As I can't tell you what dialogue it was in different scenes, I can tell you about lines because it occurred to me like the part of the script itself. It was so appropriate. It was so appropriate for the whole work, for the entire film. It never seemed to me like any sound is happening separately, off the road, off the track, which is good, of course, and getting on very well with the film as well. Not like that. It was in sync, and it was just happening as a part of the film, as a part of the film. So this was in the script, as if somebody is talking as a character. That's all I can say. And this is how it occurred to me.
Beautiful, beautiful, absolutely marvelous how you said. Dada, if I have your permission, I would like to ask one more question to our viewers. And can you believe we have already spoken for 1 hour 33 minutes?
Wow, such a long stretch you have already gone for.
Yes, endless subject, endless. A human being, we can talk forever. But let me ask a question.
I told you, this is what I started. Obviously, there cannot be any better subject for one to get lost in talking about than Panditji. There cannot be any better subject.
Really.
So it is all.
The next question,
Yeah, please.
we spoke about the rags Pandit Ravi Shankar ji composed. I want all of you to name a tal he composed and how many beats was there in that tal. The next question, the fourth question for today, the final question is the name of the tal Pandit Ravi Shankar ji composed and what was the name of the tal and how many beats there was. So this was the last question. Dada, let's, I have a very two questions. One is a personal question to you. We know you, Dada, as a great singer, composer, teacher, harmonium player. I'll ask a question before I place the final question. How important is Riyaz for you? How important is practice for anybody, not just you, in our music? How important do you think practice is?
It is. It'll be very common. In fact, if I say it's very important and it's very significant thing in music processing. So I wouldn't say it is. Everyone knows that how important it is. Everyone knows its significance. But I'd like to tell you from a little bit different direction why this thing is important. Why? It is important because anything you want to grab, anything you want to go for an expertise for, you have to practice. It has been a very common idea for everyone. Everyone knows that. That is not something new. But what Riyaz does in extra is, see, when you were learning raga, I already told you about that weird thing in Indian raga system that we have hundreds of disciplines to follow up with. We have hundreds of orderly things to maintain with. And we are also asked to do things freely. So in a way, you can go free provided you maintain such disciplines. And that discipline is not in a very small periphery. It's huge. Disciplines are very huge. You have to. That is why it is very difficult to learn about raga. Normally, one wouldn't make very easy attempt to learn about ragas. So it will take 1 year to learn about ragas. It will take ages to learn about ragas. That is what it is said. So what Riyaz does is, am I clear in my views, Gaurav?
Yes.
Suppose you are practicing a phrase, Saregamapa, 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 or in case you are making it little more complex, Ga Saregamapa, Ga Saregamapa, Ga Saregamapa, Ga Saregamapa, Ga Saregamapa, Ga Saregamapa, Dhamapa, Dhama, Ga Saregamapa, Dhamapa, Dhama, Ga Saregamapa, Dhamapa, Dhama, Ga Saregamapa. So you keep on practicing, practicing. So it gives you an expertise of doing this in higher speed, and effortlessly. There is a point where it can maximum go up to. Like you are playing 100 lines. Gama ba gama re gama da ba ma gama ba gama re sa re ni sa re gama ba sa re ni sa pa da ba ga re gama ba da gama da ba da ni da ba da gama ni da ba gama ba ni da ba ga re ni sa ga re ma ga pa ma gama sa ni da ni da pa da ni pa da gama re ni. Like 100 lines. You are practicing, 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 practicing. It cannot ever become like you will play 100 lines in fraction of a second. This is not feasible. It's not possible. All right, do we agree? There's a limit that it can go up to. You practice and you get expertise and you grab the expertise, you make it so effortless and you are playing it in so much of speed, but still you have a limit. But do you think the development comes to an end there? No. So what is more to come? More to come is the creative thinking, the creative presentation, having more of understanding about the nuance of sound, having more of understanding when to place it, how to do it, things like that. There is a limitation of playing those lines physically. But when that development is saturated, some more developments start taking place, right? So when we are learning ragas, specifically, I'm just making particular specific on this raga system. When you are making improvisations, when you are doing your creative phrases, you need a sensor inside you, which will guide you, which will not let any wrong thing come out ever. You get my point? When you are speaking a different language, it needs to be played inside you in that language. You cannot keep translating. It is not possible. That's why we are highest easy at our own language, because we never had to think. We are not having to think that how I should put it out, how I should play it, because it is being played inside me in that same language. Do you get my point? So you need a sensor. Like you see the Gaur Sarang. It's one of the most complex ragas, you know. Gare maga, mare gare maga pa re sa, gare maga, re gare maga pa da pa, ga maga pa da pa, sa re sa da pa, ni da ni pa da ma pa, ga ma re gare maga pa re sa, gare maga. So gare maga, sare ni sa gare maga, ama da ba sa da ba ma ba da ba ga ma ba ga ma re gare ma re sa gare maga. Amada Pamaga Gare Maga Pamada Pagamaga Sari Sagari Maga Sanita Renisa Pamada Pamapa Sanita Badama Panita Pamada Pamapa Gama de Gare Maga Padi, and Editanita Pamada Pamagama Pagama de Gare Padi. Saneri sa pa saneri sani sa saneri da ba da ma sareni sa da ma pa ga ma ga ni da pa ma pa da ma pa ga ma ri ga pa di ri saneri sani sa ga ri ma ga ga ni da ni sani da ni pa da ma pa da ni da ni pa da ma pa ni da pa ma da pa da ma pa ga ma ri ga pa di saneri sani sa pa ma ga ri ma ga. So I'm not having to think. If I start thinking at the same time I'm producing it, then I'll go slow, very slow, note by note, phrase by phrase. But if I wanted to come through my, come through my reproducing system like a fountain, then I need to have a sensor which will guide me, which will never let any wrong thing to come. Do you get my point?
Yes.
So I'll have to ask my inside, I'll have to ask my system that now I'm going to be singing Gaur Sarang, now I'm going to be playing Gaur Sarang. Your system takes the comment, it understands everything, and it tells you back that, okay, you carry on, I'm there. Don't worry, I won't let any wrong note come out. I won't let any wrong phrase come out. So you have to teach your within, you have to teach your conscience, you have to teach your reflex that raga. And then only it becomes very easy to reproduce, because you cannot keep translating. When we are sleeping, you see, I often tell these stories to my students. When you are sleeping, suppose a mosquito comes and sits on your left hand. Your right hand goes and just blows it out. You are sleeping. Who is doing the job? Is there any comment coming from your brain to your hand? No. No, your brain is not giving any comment, because it is the reflex with your right hand.
Yes. Yeah.
It has been so many times that your right hand has had that comment from brain that he has got used to. He knows what to do in that situation.
It becomes second nature.
Second nature. This is called reflex action. So you need to put everything on your reflex activity. Then only things start coming out so easily, so effortlessly. The riyaj is not about just grabbing the expertise with playing it in speed, with playing it with more speed, with playing it with more perfection. It is also to do a lot about being effortless in your performance. When you do something, smiling, with smile on your face, with no tension, then only it becomes very musical. So music starts happening like blooming up, as if you were making something bloom up like flower. So that's the beautiful state, I think. And to be able to do that, the riyaj is very important. What riyaj does is, riyaj keeps putting things on your reflex.
Yes.
You have played one phrase of Yaman 1,000 times, so your reflex has learned it. So no matter if you're sleeping, no matter if you're tired, no matter how much you are in tension with other things, but when it comes to playing Yaman, so the line will go out just on its own. This is where I consider the riyaj is very, very, very significant for one musician, and it's for a special growth. The riyaj is for special growth. Initially, riyaj is for grabbing the expertise on whatever you do, but after a certain period, what riyaj does is just this: it keeps adding up more to your expertise, and that is about being more effortless, being more uh, enthusiast, being more creative, being more, wide. So it leaves just an
Beautiful.
enormous room for you.
Beautiful how you put it. Thank you. Thank you, Dada. We come to the end, and in the end, there is something I would like to mention here.
Yeah.
We all are born here, and we are not outside the law of nature. But all through my years of knowing Guruji, Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, I saw him as a person who's larger than life, who had
Oh,
incidents, who
very
struck
well said.
back.
Very well said.
And we never really, to tell you the truth, we saw him in and out of hospital, he meeting with, uh, mishaps and all that, but he fought back beautifully, with grit and strength. Even
Mhm.
mornings, there would be something great going on in terms
Mhm.
of his personal life or whatever. Evening, he would go and play a major concert. Flawless.
Mhm.
He had that calm
Balance.
balance. And but finally,
Mhm.
2012, 11th of December, 12th December here, when it finally happened, of course, I traveled from London, and as I arrived home, my wife gave me the news, and I didn't think anything of it because I said, no, to him, it will never happen. It will happen to all of us. We'll go. He'll be,
Mhm.
he'll live forever. And he does really. To tell you the truth,
Mhm.
there is not a moment we don't feel his presence through his music, through when we practice. If there are questions, we get an
Of
answer.
course, I agree. There cannot be
We
ever
feel
a moment when we cannot think of his presence.
but I would like to know, where were you and what was your feeling when you got the news?
To tell you honestly, I actually wanted to bypass the news.
Huh?
Bypass the news. I wanted to bypass it because it was such a such a pitiful, irony. It was very difficult for me to accept because I already told you that appreciation more happened in terms of thinking about him, scanning his works, thinking about his thought process and thinking about his creations. I still keep doing on things. At times, I just take out some of his work and start rethinking about that, start reconsidering about his creations, start re, re, reassessing, in fact. So, assessment for myself, not making any declaration or so. But when I heard that, what I first felt was, as I just told you, I could never dream of uh, any moment when I could think of his absence. He's not there. It's like something you don't always keep on thinking about sky, do you? You don't. You don't always write a poem on sky. You don't talk about sky. You don't make mention of sky. You don't you don't do anything on sky. But one thing is very obvious every single moment. It is there above your head. The sky is there. তো আমার একটা বাংলায় কথা আছে, একটা বাংলায় গানের কথা আছে যে লাইনটা অনেকে পছন্দ করে, আমার মেয়ের খুব পছন্দ, যারা the people who have loved me so much for my creations, they also love these lines. I'd like to make a mention of, I have to do it in Bengali. চলতে চলতে পথে, চলতে চলতে পথে, well, let me remember, I'm getting lost because I'm lost in that spell. You see, I mean, you made a mention of that now, so I'm getting lost. What's the line? Just tell me. Huh? চলতে চলতে পথে জীবনের হাত ধরে যদি বুকে ভার হয় প্রশ্বাস, একটি কথায় রাখো বিশ্বাস, আকাশ রয়েছে কাছে কাছে, সে বলেছে আছে, আলো আছে. So, there I didn't talk about the scenarios where I have found him giving me blessing in terms of appreciating me or praising my works. There have been times, many times, in concerts, compositions. Nishidha once, I could never dream of it that he was concerned about my music in such a way. I did a long stretch classical music orchestration for a ballet production, in fact. It was on mythology. I did that. Nishidha, eventually, the recording of that music was on a cassette, and that reached out to Nishidha. And Nishidha took that to Jatamashai, and Nishidha played that. Just jokingly, Nishidha played that and asked Jatamashai, Bolun to it car music, just can you tell me who has done the music? And instantly, Jatamashai said, it is done by Jayanto. I know.
क्या बात है?
I don't know what to say. What kind of a blessing it was for me. Huh? In Durgapur, once there used to be a conference called Durgapur Music Conference. You must have heard about that. It was very regular conference, just same as other conferences like Saturday Music, Tansin Music. It was happening everywhere and quite but in a huge manner, of course. The normal number of audience was about 5,000. It was such huge audience that used to be for this conference, and I have seen that. So I have been there a couple of times for doing performances. Once I can remember, the Panditji was out there, and normally, as the order goes for our conferences, for our classical music concerts, the senior most person, the box artist, will always perform at the last. So it was going without saying that Panditji was at the last. He was placed at the last. But I don't know, something came up. He was supposed to do a workshop or a seminar in Kharagpur as well. So that's why he had to change his plan just upside down. So he said, Shopunda and Robin Pal, his assistants anyway. So he said, I've got to do my concert in the beginning. Then I'll make my way from here. Otherwise, I won't be able to make that. I mean, to be able to make it to reach there in timely and do everything comfortably, I'm going to do that. Otherwise, maybe I'll just mess everything up. So you have to do me this favor. And anyway, he asked for that. Who can say no or who can rethink? Nothing. And then what was very difficult for Robinda and Shopanda to organize is there were so many artists. I can remember only myself was there. Vijay Raghav Raoji was there. Rajan Sajan Bhai were there. They were there. And perhaps Acharya was there as well. Rabinda started thinking who has to come next to him.
Yes.
Who will bail the cat? That's the difficult task. And Rabinda said, it's not a problem to place him in the beginning. That is the way you do whatever you want to. You play whenever you want. It doesn't matter. But whom I'll get agreed to play to come after you. And Rabinda started going to everyone asking the same way. Okay, is it all right with you? Panditji will be playing in the beginning. So shall I place you after him? Everyone said, oh, are you mad? What is wrong with you? What kind of an approach is this? Why did come on, forget it. I'm not there. You ask anyone else. This was a common version for everyone. And when it came to me, somehow, maybe it was a childish, I took the challenge. I said, okay, I will do that. I thought, okay, what will maximum happen? I'll have to stop playing. People will, refuse to listen to me. I'll stop. Nothing else. Simple. Anyway, I was very sporting about it. And when Jatamasha heard it, when Panditji heard about this, he appreciated me so much. Okay, Jayant is a very brave person. He must have been very brave. See how easily he has taken this challenge, and he must have been very sporting. I appreciate. Okay, don't worry, I'll do something so that he finds it easier. And he played for 2.5 hours with two tabla players. It was, I think, Savir and on in the boat playing him on tabla. And the concert went, how it could be anyway. As usual, the concert was a super hit. And then it came the turn for me to be on stage. And you wouldn't believe the way he made an introduction for me. He, as if, he just took me in his lap. He addressed to the audience about me that now a very young genius artist is going to be performing before you. He's a brilliant singer, he's a brilliant harmonium player, but today you'll be on harmonium, and I'm sure he will do something that you will highly like, and you'll be, you'll enjoy it like anything. So please keep patience, don't go out. I have done my things. I would be very happy if you welcome him and if you inspire him through your appreciations and through your anyway. And that's how he made the whole audience towards me. And everything, as if everything, they were supposed to, I mean, after a big concert happens and after a big performance happens, normally people go out. They'll have tea and this, and then everything goes casual for some time, and then again they gather back again. But nothing went like that. Every single person listened to him, and everybody started to the place. And then I come over while just appearing on the stage. There was a point when he was coming out of the stage and I was going in. And Pandit asked, Janto, what are you going to play today? I said, Saraswati, Rag Saraswati. Nidasa or Dhanisa? I said, Nidasa. Good. Carry on.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'll never forget. I will never ever forget that moment. And it was a blessing direct from God, in fact, anyway. So what I was telling you about that news, in fact, for me, for Indian classical music, I think at least the people who have been concerned about him, who have been associated with him in terms of music and his creations, all that, I think they will agree with me. He was like a sky of Indian music. I told you, he was the one who lighted the fire, and we are only taking the warmth of it. We are going there, we are doing so much, we are doing so many things all across the globe, but all just because of him. He had to do this. He had to make the bridge. He had to make the bridge. He had to represent Indian music. He had to get every single part of the globe, acquainted with Indian music, and he did the representation as much adequately as possible. Sometimes even going beyond his limit, he has done it. That's how I feel. But when I heard about that news, I thought I could have thought of any question, and I was pretty sure about it. There is one place there where I can find the answer of my question. No matter what question it is, no matter what difficult question it is, no matter what kind of question from my within, but I'm pretty sure if I don't find answer to it from anyone, still there is one place there whom I can find the answer from. So he was like a sky, you see. He was like a sky. And I have still got that same feeling. And the reason I told you I wanted to bypass that news, I haven't thought of that. And I still don't believe that he has actually passed away. He's no more with us. I don't believe. So I still keep throwing my question towards him. And when I get my answers from my within, from outside in, then I start imagining it must have been Jatamosha who is giving me the answer.
Beautiful.
It's not me that I'm finding out the answer from my within. The question came from my within, but the answer must have come from a sky like him. I still consider like that, and I refuse to believe that he is no more with us. I impudently refuse to believe that. I impudently refuse to establish this truth that he has passed away, he has deceased, he is no more with us. As long as Indian music will be existent, Pandit Ravi Shankar will exist because he has always incarnated Indian music. He has incarnated the creativity in the field of Indian music. So he can never go off. And the lastly, what I'd like to end with is, I don't know, maybe other people have thought the same way and maybe have already poured it out. I say, for the rest of the globe, it's one sun. But for Bengalis, for India, there are three suns. One is Tagore, another is Pandit Ravi Shankar, another is just a regular sun. But the difference between the regular sun and other two suns is the regular sun rises every day and sets every evening. But these two suns rose much earlier, but will never set.
Never said.
But will never set. They will always stay in the sky. And there's enormous light there. There's enormous glow there. I can feel that warmth. I can feel that glow. I can see that light. And it will always work like a torch on my path where I have to move ahead, where I have to keep going further. I will never lose that light. So I refuse. I refuse to believe that. He is still with us. I know.
That echoes within me, because I believe the same. I think on the same lines, and he's there with all of us. Dada, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming and speaking so beautifully, as always. And I have so much respect for you, so much regard for you. My pranams to you. And I'll invite Guruji's nephew, Nabarun Chatterji, now to come and speak to all of us. It's been a long show. It's more than 2 hours, but every minute was worth it. I think this is going to be a treasure for us, and we'll cherish this whole the time we had with you forever. My pranams.
Thank you so much. I'm so thankful to you for having given me such a great privilege and wonderful opportunity to put down my words and put out my feelings, and to talk on such a big legend, whom, of course, I have always considered to have been the ocean of music. So there's no end. There's no end of talking about him. There's no end of looking around his creations. There's no end to anything. Since it comes to Pandit Ravi Shankar is the topic. There is no end to it. There's no end to it. So 2 hours is nothing. We can go for 2 years, doesn't matter, without a break. But the only problem is we have to eat, we have to sleep.
My pranam to you, Dada.
Thank you so much. Thank
So
you
nice
so
of
much. You
you.
all keep well. Hope you are all keeping in good health and things. It's a very difficult time we are going through. But anyway, I know we will overcome. We'll get over this situation. And just nature is taking tests on us.
Yes.
How tolerant we are. How do we find our ways to get over the situation? And thank you very much. It was nice talking to all of you. And very good questions were asked, so that
Thank you,
I
Dada.
could explore. However much I don't know if I have been really adequate to answer your questions, if I have been really good at talking about him. As I already said, that I have really been a very little thing to talk about him. Whatever I said, don't consider that a comment and that was any assessment. I never had any scale to measure a legend like him. I just poured out my feeling, my expression, whatever I felt, having had association with him, having had association with his works. So that is what I just poured out. It's my perspective. That is how I looked at things from my point of view. It's all that.
It's special. That's why it is so special, and it is absolutely wonderful to hear you. Thank you, Dada. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you,
Okay.
Dada.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
thank you so much, Dada, for coming to the show and sharing lot of informative things of Panditji and also your compositions. And there are many new viewers today, Dada. Pradeep Sen Gupta from Bangladesh said hello to
Mhm.
you. And lot of new viewers adding to the show. Anyhow, thanks to the viewers also for supporting us, and your appreciation motivates us to do better. So once
Could
again,
you
good
manage
night.
to have good number of viewers, Gaurav? I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
Nabarun
you
by.
have got a good number of viewers, listeners, in fact.
Yeah.
More than you, there are listeners, because there are a lot of comments to the show, and they all appreciate it. And so it tells about that. Before the beginning of the show, I told that we have covered
Mhm.
music, can say music machine with us today, who is everything there. So nice,
That's a kind
Jantuda,
of a
to be with us. And once
yeah.
again, to the viewers of Pandit Ravi Shankar Music Foundation, thank you so much to you for your love and affection to us. And do continue your blessings to us. And tomorrow we will meet with another personality at 8 p.m. sharp in Indian time. And today's quiz has been answered by a lot of the question persons. But the other fact is that you should WhatsApp the answers to the page number. Don't give your comments on the box live, because it will be difficult for us to see who has given the first answer and the second answer. So just be in touch with us tomorrow.
Am I still
Joyantada,
online, Gaurav?
Yes, we are online. We will just
Ah,
last
right.
few seconds.
Joyantada, good night, namaskar, and
Good night.
খুব ভালো থাকবেন। খুব ভালো
Hmm.
লাগলো আপনার সঙ্গে কথা বলে। Okay,
You
Gaurav da?
also keep well. Keep well.
Yeah,
Thank you, David.
thank you,
Hmm.
thank you.
All my
আচ্ছা দাদা,
best wishes for
good
everybody.
night.
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, সব ভালো থেকো। Okay, okay.
Okay, thank you দাদা।
मुझे क्या देखते